The stranger moved in on a Tuesday, and Mrs. Patterson died on a Thursday. I didn't connect the two events at first. Why would I? Mrs. Patterson was 87 years old, had been sick for months, and everyone knew she didn't have much time left. Her death was sad but expected. What wasn't expected was what the stranger said to me 3 days before she died. I was mowing my lawn when he approached me, tall, maybe 40 years old, with a face I couldn't quite remember even seconds after looking at it. Not ugly, not handsome, just forgettable. Except for his eyes. Those I remembered. Dark and deep, like looking into wells. "Your neighbor," he said, pointing at Mrs. Patterson's house. "The elderly woman. She has 72 hours. I stopped the mower. "Excuse me?" 72 hours. 3 days. Then she'll be gone. He said it like he was commenting on the weather. Casual, matter of fact. "That's a terrible thing to say. Are you threatening her?" "Not threatening, informing." He smiled, but it didn't reach those well-dark eyes. "I'm Marcus Chen. I just moved in next door. I thought you should know." "Know what? That you're a psychopath?" "That she has 3 days. I always tell the neighbors. It seems polite." He extended his hand. I didn't shake it. "Get away from me," I said. He shrugged and walked back to his house. I almost called the police. Almost. But what would I say? My new neighbor made a morbid prediction. That's not a crime. 72 hours later, Mrs. Patterson had a stroke in her sleep and never woke up. The doctors said it was sudden, unexpected, given that she'd been stable all week. Her heart just stopped. At 3:47 p.m. on Thursday, exactly 72 hours after Marcus had told me, I told myself it was a coincidence, a lucky or unlucky guess. Mrs. Patterson was old. These things happen. Then Marcus approached me again. This time he was holding a small notebook, and this time he was talking about Mr. Reeves across the street. 5 days, Marcus said. Car accident. Intersection of Maple and 3rd. 7:23 p.m. "Stop it," I warned him. "This isn't funny." "It's not meant to be. I'm just giving you advance notice so you can prepare, say goodbye, that sort of thing." 5 days later, Mr. Reeves died in a car accident. Intersection of Maple and 3rd Street. 7:23 p.m. A drunk driver ran a red light. And I knew. The stranger next door didn't predict deaths. He knew them. All of them. With perfect, terrifying accuracy. Last night, he knocked on my door. I saw him through the peephole, standing under my porch light, holding that same notebook. I didn't want to open the door. But I did. Because I had to know. 3 days, Marcus said quietly, looking at me with those bottomless eyes. "I'm sorry. I really am. But you have 72 hours. Saturday, 3:47 p.m. I thought you'd want to know. He's never been wrong. Not once. And I have 3 days to live." Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave your like, because the ending of this story will shake you in ways you never imagined. And tell me in the comments, from which city are you watching this story? Now let's begin. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Someone had just given me an expiration date. 3 days, 72 hours. Saturday at 3:47 p.m., I would die. The rational part of my brain kept screaming that it was impossible. People can't predict death. It was coincidence. Lucky guesses. Confirmation bias. But Marcus had been right about Mrs. Patterson. Right about Mr. Reeves. And according to my other neighbors, he'd been right about 6 other people before I'd even started paying attention. 8 predictions, 8 deaths, 8 perfect accuracies, down to the day, time, and sometimes the method. At 6 a.m., unable to stand it anymore, I went to Marcus's house and pounded on his door. He answered in a bathrobe, looking unsurprised to see me. "I figured you'd come." "How do you know?" I demanded. "How do you know when people are going to die?" "I just do. I've always known since I was a child." He gestured for me to come in. I hesitated, then followed him inside. His house was sparse, minimal furniture, but one wall was covered in notebooks, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all identical to the one he'd been carrying. "What are those?" Records. Every death I've ever foreseen. I started keeping track when I was 12. I'm 43 now. That's 31 years of deaths. He pulled one notebook down and opened it. Names, dates, times, causes, page after page after page. This is insane. This is my life. I see death coming. I always have. At first I tried to stop it. Warned people. Tried to help them avoid it. Didn't matter. Death always finds a way. So now I just document and inform when I can. You informed me that I'm going to die in 3 days. I know, I'm sorry. Can I change it? Can I avoid it? He looked at me with something that might have been pity. You can try. Everyone tries. But in 31 years, across 2,147 predictions, no one has ever succeeded. What's going to kill me? He checked his notebook. I don't know the method yet. Sometimes I don't see that part until closer to the time. But Saturday, 3:47 p.m. That's when it happens. I grabbed him by his robe. You have to help me. There has to be a way to stop this. There isn't. I've seen people lock themselves in bunkers, hire bodyguards, go to hospitals and surround themselves with doctors. Doesn't matter. Death is creative and death always wins. I don't accept that. Acceptance isn't required. It happens whether you believe it or not. I left his house shaking with rage and terror. 3 days. I had 3 days to prove him wrong. I had 3 days to survive the impossible. I spent Thursday morning researching Marcus Chen. If he'd been predicting deaths for 31 years, there had to be records, news stories, something. What I found terrified me more. Marcus had lived in 7 different cities over the past 3 decades. In each city, multiple deaths had occurred with eerie accuracy to predictions made by a local resident or a neighbor or an unnamed source. In Phoenix, 2003, a woman told police that the man next door had warned her husband would die in a fire. 3 days later, their house burned down. Electrical fault. Husband died. The neighbor who'd made the prediction had moved away the next week. In Seattle, 2008, multiple residents reported a man who could predict deaths. Local news did a story, treating it like a curiosity. 5 people he'd predicted all died within his stated timeframes. Then he disappeared. In Austin, 2015, similar story. Different name, but the description matched. Marcus, or whatever he called himself then, had predicted a dozen deaths with perfect accuracy before vanishing. He wasn't a serial killer. Police had investigated multiple times. He was never near the deaths, never involved, never benefiting. He just knew. And now he was here. And I was on his list. I called every person I could find who'd been warned by Marcus. Most numbers were disconnected. But I found 3 people who answered. Did you try to avoid it? I asked a woman named Sarah, whose brother had been on Marcus's list. Of course we tried. We had him stay home. No driving, no going out. We watched him every second for 3 days. What happened? Her voice broke. Aneurysm. 3:00 p.m., exactly when that man said. My brother was sitting on the couch watching TV, just dropped dead. Doctors said it was a ticking time bomb in his brain. Nothing could have prevented it. The second person, a man named David, told me almost the same story. His mother had been predicted. They'd taken every precaution. She died anyway. Heart attack, right on schedule. The third person, an elderly woman named Patricia, had the worst story. My daughter tried to run, tried to hide from it, got in her car at 2 a.m. and drove. Didn't tell anyone where she was going. Figured if she was far away when the time came, maybe it wouldn't find her. And fell asleep at the wheel. Crashed at 6:47 a.m., exactly when he said. It's like death was chasing her, and the more she ran, the faster it caught up. I hung up feeling sick. No one had ever survived Marcus's predictions. No one had ever escaped their death date. But I had to try. I had to be the first. Friday morning. 48 hours left. I called in sick to work and began preparations. If Marcus was right, and everything suggested he was, I would die Saturday at 3:47 p.m. I didn't know how, but I could eliminate as many possibilities as I could think of. I went to the hospital and got a full physical. Blood pressure, normal. Heart, healthy. No signs of aneurysms, clots, or hidden conditions. The doctor said I was in excellent health for a 36-year-old. Could I have something that wouldn't show up on these tests? I asked. Like what? Something that could kill me in 2 days. She looked at me strangely. Are you feeling suicidal? Do you need to speak to someone? No. No, just being paranoid. Health anxiety. She prescribed me anti-anxiety medication. I didn't fill the prescription. I needed to stay alert. Next, I secured my house, checked every smoke detector, verified the carbon monoxide alarm, inspected the gas lines, the electrical panel, the structural integrity of the ceilings, everything that could possibly cause an accident. I threw out all food that could be spoiled, unplugged everything that could start a fire, disabled the garbage disposal in case I somehow fell and hit my head. I was taking no chances. By Friday evening, my house was as safe as a sterile bubble. I'd eliminated every hazard I could think of. Car stayed in the garage. I wouldn't be driving anywhere. No knives within reach, no stairs to fall down. I'd moved a mattress to the ground floor. I would spend Saturday, my final day, according to Marcus, in my living room, sitting still, doing nothing, waiting for 3:47 p.m. to pass. And then I'd prove Marcus wrong. My phone rang at 8 p.m. unknown number. I answered, Mr. Harrison, a woman's voice. Yes? This is Detective Sarah Campos with the police department. We need to talk about your neighbor, Marcus Chen. We've received reports that he's been making threatening statements about deaths in the neighborhood. He's not threatening people. He's predicting their deaths, and he's always right. Silence on the other end. Then, Mr. Harrison, has he threatened you? He told me I'd die tomorrow at 3:47 p.m., and you believe him. I don't know what I believe, but he's been right about 8 other people, all dead, all exactly when he said. We'd like to bring him in for questioning. Can you come down to the station and make a formal statement? Not tonight, not tomorrow. Why not? Because I'm not leaving my house until after 3:47 p.m. tomorrow. If I'm still alive at 4 hours p.m., I'll come in. I'll tell you everything. Mr. Harrison. I hung up. The police couldn't help me. No one could. I was alone in this. At midnight, I looked out my window. Marcus's house was dark except for one light, his bedroom. I could see his silhouette moving around, preparing for my death probably, writing it in his notebook, recording it for his collection. I won't be in your book, I thought. I'm going to survive this. I had to. Saturday morning, the last day of my life, according to a stranger who'd never been wrong. I woke up at 6 a.m. surprised I'd slept at all. 21 hours and 47 minutes until 3:47 p.m. That's all I had to survive. I ate a simple breakfast, cereal, water. Nothing that could choke me, nothing that could be poisoned. I'd bought everything sealed, and I'd opened it all myself. By noon I was sitting in the middle of my living room with nothing around me, no furniture nearby to trip over, no objects that could fall. Just me, sitting on the floor, watching the clock. 3 p.m., 47 minutes to go. 3:15 p.m., 32 minutes, 3:30 p.m., 17 minutes. My heart was pounding. Every second felt like an eternity. I watched the clock with complete focus, waiting, surviving, proving Marcus wrong. 3:40 p.m., 7 minutes. Nothing was happening. No heart attack, no aneurysm, no freak accident. I was sitting still, breathing normally, perfectly fine. I was going to make it. 3:45 p.m., 2 minutes. The doorbell rang. I froze. Who would come to my door right now? I ignored it. Whoever it was could wait. 2 more minutes and I'd be safe. The doorbell rang again, then pounding on the door. Mr. Harrison, police! Open up! The detective. She'd come to check on me, but I wasn't opening that door, not for 90 more seconds. 3:46 p.m., 1 minute. Mr. Harrison, we have reason to believe you're in danger. Open the door or we're breaking it down. 60 seconds. I could make it 60 more seconds. Marcus Chen has confessed to planning your murder. Open the door now. What? Murder? Marcus was going to kill me? 3:46:30 p.m., 30 seconds. The door exploded inward. Police flooded in, guns drawn. Get down! Get down on the ground! I raised my hands. What's happening? Marcus Chen has been arrested. He confessed to planning a murder for 3:47 p.m. today. Yours. Where is he? He's not here. He's at his house. 3:47 p.m. The lights went out. Every light in the house simultaneously. The refrigerator stopped humming. Complete silence, complete darkness. "Flashlights now!" the detective shouted. Beams of light cut through the darkness, and I saw him. Marcus, standing in my kitchen. He must have come in through the back door during the commotion. He was holding something, a gun. "I'm sorry," Marcus said, "but this is how it happens. This is how it's always happened." "Drop the weapon!" But Marcus wasn't pointing the gun at me. He was pointing it at his own head. "You don't understand," he said to me. "I don't predict deaths. I cause them. I always have. And when I predict my own death, I end the curse. The notebook shows I die today too, same time as you, 3:47 p.m. "Marcus, don't—" The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space. Marcus fell. The police rushed to him, and in the chaos one officer stumbled, his gun discharged. I felt the impact before I heard the sound, a burning sensation in my chest. I looked down and saw blood spreading across my shirt. "Officer down, officer! No, civilian shot, call an ambulance!" I fell to my knees. The world was going dark, not from the power outage, from something else, something final. My phone, lying on the floor nearby, showed the time. 3:47 p.m. Marcus had been right. He was always right, and I'd survived right up until the moment I didn't. I woke up in a hospital bed. Bright lights, beeping machines, confused voices. "He's awake. Doctor, he's awake." A nurse leaned over me. "Mr. Harrison, can you hear me?" I tried to speak but couldn't. My throat was dry. She held a cup of water to my lips. "You're very lucky," she said. "The bullet missed your heart by 2 centimeters. You lost a lot of blood, but you're going to survive." Survive? I'd survived. Past 3:47 p.m. Past my death time. What time is it?" I croaked. 4:15 p.m. Saturday. "You've been in surgery for 20 minutes. I'd done it. I'd survived past my predicted death time. Marcus had been wrong. For the first time in 31 years, 2,847 predictions, he'd been wrong. Unless— "The other man," I said. "Marcus, is he—" The nurse's face darkened. "He died at the scene. Self-inflicted gunshot wound, I'm sorry." Marcus was dead. At 3:47 p.m. Exactly when he'd predicted, but I was alive. At 4:15 p.m. 15 minutes past my death time. I'd broken the pattern. I'd survived the impossible. I was the first person to ever prove Marcus Chen wrong. The detective came to see me the next day, explained what had happened. Marcus had called the police himself, confessed to planning my murder, given them my address. He'd orchestrated the entire thing, the police arrival, the chaos, the accidental shooting. "Why would he do that?" I asked. We found his notebooks, thousands of entries. He wrote in the latest one, "I don't predict deaths, I architect them. This is my last prediction. My own death, and his survival. Let him be the one who breaks the chain." I didn't understand. Marcus had set up the scenario that killed him and nearly killed me. But he'd also ensured police would be there, emergency responders. He'd stacked the deck for my survival while guaranteeing his own death. He'd spent 31 years predicting deaths, and his last prediction was designed to fail, to save me. Why? I found the answer when they released me from the hospital 3 days later. Waiting on my doorstep was a package. Inside was one of Marcus's notebooks, the final one. The last page had an entry about me, but it wasn't what I expected. "James Harrison, death date, Saturday, 3:47 p.m. But I'm going to change this one, because I'm tired. Tired of being death's messenger, tired of watching people die on schedule, so this time I'm offering myself instead. My death for his life. Let this be the one time the prediction fails. Let him live. Let him be free of this curse." Below that, in different handwriting, my handwriting, though I'd never written it, were new entries. Names I didn't recognize. Death dates, times, methods. And at the top of the page, in Marcus's writing, "The gift passes to the survivor." I'm sorry. You broke the pattern, but the pattern isn't finished with you. Now you see death coming. Now you carry the notebooks. I hope you're stronger than I was. I hope you can end this better than I could. I dropped the notebook like it burned me. But I already knew it was true, because I'd started seeing them, the numbers, floating above people's heads like impossible halos. My nurse, 47 years, 3 months, 12 days. The detective, 2 years, 8 months, 4 days. The doctor, 23 years, 1 month, 18 days. Everyone I looked at had a countdown I could see. Time remaining. Death dates I couldn't unknow. Marcus had freed himself by passing the curse to me, and now I was the one who knew too much. The one who saw death coming for everyone. The stranger next door had predicted my death. But he'd been wrong about one thing. I didn't die on Saturday at 3:47 p.m. I became something worse. I became him. The first week was torture. Everywhere I looked, I saw death dates. The grocery store clerk, 18 months. The mailman, 6 years. A child playing in the park, 72 years. That one made me cry with relief. I tried closing my eyes. Didn't help. The numbers appeared in my mind anyway. I tried leaving town, thinking maybe distance would break it. But the curse followed me. Every person, every stranger, every face came with an expiration date I couldn't ignore. I understood now why Marcus had lived alone, why he'd moved so often, why he'd kept those notebooks. When you know exactly when everyone around you will die, connection becomes impossible. How do you make friends with someone when you know they have 3 months left? How do you fall in love with someone who has 2 years? The notebook sat on my table waiting. I didn't want to write in it, didn't want to become what Marcus had been. But the knowledge was overwhelming. It needed somewhere to go. On day 8, I wrote my first entry. Not because I wanted to, because I had to. Mrs. Chen, 2847 Maple Street, 14 days, heart failure. I didn't want to tell her, but Marcus's voice echoed in my head. I always tell the neighbors, it seems polite. Was it polite? Or was it cruel? Giving someone advance notice of their death, did that help or hurt? Would Mrs. Chen want to know she had 2 weeks? Would she use that time to say goodbye, get her affairs in order? Or would she spend 14 days in terror, watching the clock count down? I went to her house, knocked on her door. She answered with a warm smile. 78 years old, kind eyes, probably someone's grandmother. Can I help you, dear? I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm James. I live down the street. How lovely. Would you like to come in for tea? No, thank you. I just wanted to say hello, and if you need anything in the next couple weeks, please let me know. Anything at all. She looked puzzled, but pleased. That's very kind. Are you sure you won't stay for tea? I'm sure. Just take care of yourself, Mrs. Chen. I left without telling her. I couldn't do it. Couldn't become the harbinger of death, showing up at doors with expiration notices. 14 days later, Mrs. Chen died in her sleep. Heart failure, peaceful, just as I'd foreseen. I went to her funeral and cried. Not just for her, but for all the deaths I'd see coming. All the people I'd watch march toward their end dates, helpless to stop it. That night I burned the notebook, threw it in my fireplace and watched it turn to ash. The numbers didn't stop. The curse didn't care about the notebook. That was just Marcus's coping mechanism, not the source of the power. I was stuck with this, forever. 3 months after Marcus's death, I started trying to intervene. If I could see deaths coming, maybe I could prevent them. Maybe where Marcus had failed, I could succeed. A man at the coffee shop, 6 days. Car accident, my vision told me. Intersection of 5th and Broadway. I followed him, learned his routine. On day 6, I was waiting at that intersection. When he approached in his car, I stepped into the crosswalk, forcing him to stop, blocking him from entering the intersection. He honked, yelled at me, but I didn't move. Not until the light changed. Not until the delivery truck that would have T-boned him had already passed through. I'd saved him, prevented the accident, changed fate. I felt victorious. For about 12 hours. The next morning, the news reported that the same man had died in a home invasion, random robbery, shot by an intruder. Time of death matched exactly what my vision had shown, 11:47 a.m. Death had adjusted, found another method. The when hadn't changed, just the how. I tried again with someone else. Woman, 10 days drowning. I warned her, begged her to avoid water, stay away from the beach, the pool, anywhere she could drown. She listened, stayed home. 10 days later, she slipped in her shower, hit her head and drowned in 3 inches of water. Marcus had been right. Death always found a way. You could change the method, but not the outcome. The when was fixed. I stopped trying to prevent deaths, started trying something else. I started helping people prepare. I developed a system. When I saw someone with less than a month remaining, I'd find a way to connect with them. Not always to tell them. I'd learned that most people didn't want to know, but to help them however I could. A father with 3 weeks left. I anonymously paid for his daughter's college tuition. He died not knowing who'd helped, but he died knowing his daughter would be okay. A woman with 9 days left. I helped her locate her estranged sister. They reconciled. 6 years of silence erased in 9 days of conversation. An elderly man with 48 hours left. I sat with him. Just sat. He was alone, dying in a nursing home with no family. For his last 2 days he had a friend. Me. I held his hand when he passed. I couldn't stop death, but I could make the time between now and then matter. I could help people leave things better than they found them. It wasn't the gift Marcus had wanted to give me, but it was the gift I could give others. I kept the notebooks, started writing again, but not just death dates. I wrote about the people, their stories, their final days, the good they'd done, the love they'd left behind. Marcus had been death's accountant, tallying souls. I decided to be death's biographer, recording lives. It didn't make the burden easier, but it made it bearable. 2 years after Marcus died, I noticed something he'd either never discovered or never told me about. The death dates weren't random. There was a pattern. Some people had their dates circled in my mind, highlighted, different somehow from the others. And when I paid attention to those specific deaths, I realized they were preventable, not in outcome but in pain. A circled date meant a violent death, a painful death, a death that could be made easier if someone intervened. Regular date, no circle, natural causes, peaceful, the way death should be when possible. Circled date, suffering, trauma, pain. The gift wasn't just seeing death, it was seeing which deaths needed help. I started focusing only on the circled ones. The violent car crashes I couldn't prevent, but I could call 911 before they happened, ensuring faster response times, less suffering. The murders I couldn't stop, but I could tip off police, ensuring investigations started immediately. Justice for victims. The painful terminal illnesses I couldn't cure, but I could guide people toward hospice care, pain management, dignity and dying. I was becoming what Marcus had refused to be, death's advocate. Not trying to stop death, but trying to make it less cruel. One day I saw my own date. It appeared in the mirror while I was brushing my teeth, floating above my own head. 47 years from now, natural causes, no circle. I would die peacefully, at age 83. And until then I had work to do. Marcus had given me a curse, but I'd found a way to make it a calling. 20 years later, I'm 56 years old. I've seen thousands of deaths, helped hundreds of people, saved no one from dying, but saved many from dying badly. Last week, a young woman moved in next door, 23 years old, kind smile, works as a teacher. Her name is Emma. Above her head, I see a date circled in red, 6 months from now. Violent death, preventable suffering. I know what I need to do. I'll help her, guide her towards safety where I can. Ensure that if the worst happens, she's not alone, that someone knows, that someone cares. But I also see something else, something I've never seen before on anyone except Marcus and myself. Emma has the gift too. I can tell by the way she looks at people, that slight hesitation, that knowledge in her eyes. She sees the dates. She's like me, like Marcus, a carrier of the curse. After Marcus died, I thought I was alone, the last one. But now I understand. The gift doesn't die with us. It passes on, finds new hosts, creates a chain of death seers stretching back through history. We're not predictors. We're witnesses, forced to watch the world end, one person at a time while being unable to stop it. I should warn Emma, prepare her for what's coming, help her understand that she can't save people from death, but she can save them from dying alone. But first, I need to help her survive her own circled date. 6 months. Violent death. Unless I can reduce the violence, ease the transition, make it less terrible. I knock on her door. She answers, and I see the recognition in her eyes. She knows what I am, just as I know what she is. I'm James, I say. I live next door to a man named Marcus Chen. He gave me something, a burden, and I think you have it too. She doesn't look surprised, just tired. How long have you had it? 20 years. I've had it for 3 months. Ever since, she trails off. Ever since someone died near you. Someone who had the gift. She nods. My grandmother. She told me I'd inherit something from her. I thought she meant jewelry. But then she died and I started seeing numbers, dates, times. Your grandmother had the gift, and when she died, it passed to you, just like it passed from Marcus to me. Can we stop it? End it? I want to lie, want to tell her yes, but I've learned that lies don't help. No, but we can make it meaningful. We can help people. We can be there for them when no one else is. Emma looks at me with those ancient eyes in her young face. Is that enough? It has to be. I show her my notebooks. 20 years of deaths, 20 years of stories, 20 years of people who died knowing someone cared. This is what Marcus left me, I say, and this is what I'll leave to whoever comes after me. A record, proof that these people mattered, that their deaths weren't just statistics. Emma touches the notebooks. The stranger next door knew too much, and now we do too. Yes. Will I survive my 6 months? I look at her circled date. Violence ahead, but not certain death, just certain pain. I don't know, but I'll be there, whatever happens. You won't face it alone. She starts to cry, not from fear, from relief, because for 3 months she's been alone with this terrible knowledge, and now she's not. Thank you, she whispers. Don't thank me yet. This gift destroys you slowly. Every death you see coming, every person you can't save, it takes a piece of you. Marcus couldn't bear it. Some days I can't either. Then why keep going? I think about all the people I've helped, all the gentle deaths instead of violent ones, all the hands I've held, all the final words I've recorded. Because someone has to witness, someone has to remember, someone has to care when death comes calling. If not us, then who? Emma nods slowly, understanding, accepting, joining the chain of death seers that stretches back through history. The stranger next door knew too much, and he passed it to me. And someday I'll pass it to someone else. A torch no one wants to carry, but someone must. Until then, I have work to do. Emma to protect, deaths to ease, stories to record. And in 47 years, when my own death comes, I'll face it knowing I made the burden mean something. That's all any of us can do. The day Emma was supposed to die, I stayed with her from dawn until dusk. 6 months had passed since she moved in. 6 months of preparing for this moment. Her circled date was marked 3:47 p.m. Same time Marcus had marked for me, same time he died. The curse had a sense of irony. We stayed in her apartment, doors locked, windows secured, no risks, just waiting. At 3 p.m. she said, "I'm scared." I know. Will it hurt? I don't know, but I'm here. You're not alone. 3:30 p.m. 17 minutes to go. James, can I tell you something? Anything. I see your death date, 47 years, but it's changing. I froze. What do you mean, changing? The numbers keep shifting. Sometimes it's 47 years, sometimes it's 47 minutes, like there are two possible futures. That's not possible. The dates are fixed. Yours isn't. It's tied to mine somehow, like... She stopped, understanding dawning. Like if I die, you die with me. And if I live, you live. No, that's not how it works. 3:45 p.m. 2 minutes. Emma grabbed my hand. Marcus saved you by dying at your death time. Maybe you can save me by living through mine. I don't understand. The window exploded inward. A car had jumped the curb, crashed through the building's ground floor, and debris was flying upward. A chunk of concrete the size of a basketball flew directly toward Emma's head. I didn't think, just moved, pushed her aside, felt the impact against my shoulder instead of her skull. Pain, blinding, incredible pain, but I was alive. Emma was alive. 3:47 p.m. passed, 3:48 p.m. We'd survived. Emma's death date vanished from above her head. Just gone. And mine stabilized. 47 years. Fixed again. You changed it, she whispered. You actually changed it. No, we changed it, together. I understood now. Marcus had been alone. Every death seer before him had been alone. Solitary witnesses carrying the burden in isolation. But Emma and I were different. We had each other. And maybe that's what broke the pattern. Not one person trying to fight fate, but two people sharing the burden. The curse didn't end that day. We still see the dates, still know when death is coming, still can't prevent it in most cases. But we learned something Marcus never knew. Some circled dates can be changed. Not all. Maybe not even most. But some. The ones where we work together. Where we share the burden instead of carrying it alone. Emma and I became partners. Death seers working in tandem. Where one saw violence coming, the other found ways to reduce it. Where one saw suffering, the other brought comfort. We couldn't stop death, but we could stop some of the pain, and that had to be enough. 5 years later, we found another. A teenage boy who'd inherited the gift from his grandfather, then a middle-aged woman, then an elderly man, all death seers, all alone, all thinking they were the only ones. We built a network, a family of people cursed with knowing too much, and together we made the curse bearable. Marcus had been right about one thing. We couldn't save people from death. Death always wins. But he'd been wrong about something crucial. We weren't alone. We'd never been alone, just isolated. And isolation is a choice. The stranger next door knew too much, and he died alone with that knowledge, but I won't. Emma won't. None of us will. Because knowing when someone will die is terrible, but knowing you don't have to face that knowledge alone, that's the real gift. And it's the one thing Marcus never got to experience. The one thing he could have had if he'd just reached out instead of running. I visit his grave sometimes. Leave flowers. Tell him about the network we've built, the lives we've eased, the deaths we've witnessed together instead of alone. You were wrong about one thing, I tell his headstone. The curse doesn't have to destroy us. Not if we carry it together. The stranger next door predicted my death. He was wrong, but he gave me something more valuable than survival. He gave me purpose, direction, a reason to see death coming instead of running from it. And in his final act, he taught me that even the darkest gift can be transformed into something meaningful. If you're willing to share the burden instead of bearing it alone,